Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. On today's episode, I am sitting down with some very, very talented musicians. You've probably seen their work at Lincoln Center or the Met. They're working on an album. So these guys are blowing up and they're so talented. One plays the violin, one plays the cello. I know nothing about music. I just know that I am not talented at all when it comes to that. So I am very excited to be able to talk to very talented individuals within this space. Their music is very unique. It's very uplifting. They like to blend a lot of genres together. And so I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of these guys, and I am super pumped to kind of get them while they're on the up and up. And I could say they were on my podcast, and you guys could say, I heard them before. So this is amazing. So I'm very excited. So with that being said, I'm going to bring on my guest. They have a group called Arkai Music, and the two talented musicians that we're hearing from today and learning about music and where they're going, and they're even going to play a song for us, is Jonathan Miron and Philip Sheegog. So with that being said, what's up, guys?
Thanks for having us, Madison.
Hi, Madison. Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So first of all, I want to know how you guys met.
Well, it's a bit of a story.
We both went to the Juilliard School here in New York City.
Just a couple blocks down the street. We're actually pretty close to there right now.
Yeah, in Lincoln Center. And, you know, we were different years at school, and we never actually met at school. And
which itself is kind of a miracle, because it's a tiny school. It's like 800 students total.
So that says a lot. That we didn't meet there. But we actually both got kind of nominated by the school to be at this conference at Juilliard, representing the school. And it was there that we were kind of jamming one night. Jamming meaning we were improvising and kind of the DJs one night on our instruments, and people were dancing, singing everything. And we kind of just held down the fort for a solid hour, just playing stuff, just random stuff, and making stuff up on the spot. And it was there that I think we heard that spark, that sound. And so, we kept going.
Well, and the remarkable thing about that, right, Jonathan just kind of says we were making stuff up, which is kind of remarkable for two classically trained string players, because making stuff up on the spot is typically not a skill that you learn in classical conservatory. Normally, we're reading music from a page. We're playing great masterworks that have existed for decades or centuries. But improvisation, that skill of making stuff up on the spot, is not typically a skill that you find in another player.
Wow.
So to be able to jam with someone for about an hour and a half and have people having a great time and not wanting the party to end, that was really remarkable and quite a eye-opening experience, that first spark.
So that's how we met.
Yeah.
That's great. So it's kind of, I always think when they are here, the thought of when these bands get together, how important it is that chemistry is there. It's almost like a marriage.
Oh yeah,
totally.
So I joke that this is great practice for a future marriage in many ways.
Hey, do you guys fight?
We definitely have our differences, but we're really good complementary partners in many ways. Like, we're really good at different things. I would say that Philip is more of the tech guru. Like, when it comes to music, he's much more versed in something called harmony, where I am more of the melodic, kind of like the singer, in a group. Where he's the band and he's the bass, the drums in the group. And so, many different things like that, from marketing to all the business side of things, like the marketing, design. Philip's really good at that stuff.
And then Jonathan kind of holds down our operation as kind of the small business side, which maybe we'll talk about that later. Jonathan handles all of our finance. The only reason why we actually have a bank account and money in the bank and money coming into the bank is because of all the systems he's set up and tracking. He's also a master networker. So much of what we do, probably in many other professions, but definitely in the arts, is all about relationships. It's meeting people, it's staying in touch with people, it's cultivating relationships over years. And he is prodigious at that. So it is a really good team, both in the music and outside of the music, kind of in the actual operational side of what it means to be a 21st century musician.
I mean, you just figured out. You're what?
I mean, there are definitely bumps in the road, like any sort of, relationship, but I think things get really resolved fast. And when we perform, when we're in front of an audience and the audience goes nuts, it kind of just soothes everything, right? It solves everything, and that's kind of the higher purpose.
Well, that's what, like, they always say art's like, I do comedy, and it's that performing in front of an audience is like, it's almost like a drug you can't get, right? It's like that feeling of that high that you can't explain, but you're like, it kind of fuels your soul in a way, which is great. So I totally understand where you're coming from on that.
Totally. When you get on the stage, you let everything go, right? It's like you can't think about all the crap that happened earlier. You're there, you're present for the audience, and you're just there with them, and it is that high. Yeah. It's the most incredible feeling.
Right, it sure is. So who plays which instrument?
I'm on violin.
And I'm on cello.
And I being Jonathan.
That's right. We should have said who was who.
I was like, not everybody watches this YouTube. In fact, nobody really watches the YouTube. Hopefully they'll start watching the YouTube, but they're mainly on audio. So yes, Jonathan is the violinist and Philip is the cello. Is it celloist?
Cellist, yeah.
Cellist. Okay, perfect. And did you guys start playing at a very young age?
I started violin when I was 4. So yeah, I was a little toddler, and I essentially demanded to play the violin, to play an instrument.
No, well, that's not quite the whole story. What, your first instrument?
My first instrument was actually a cello. When I was 3, actually, I demanded to have a cello. And my parents had one made for me, but it was bigger than I was. I was a little kid, so that didn't really work out. So we transitioned to the small cello, which is the violin.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Well, that's pretty impressive because most kids at that age just want like a big, fire truck toy or some truck. So I'm gonna step ahead of everybody else and do this.
Yeah, I definitely had the fire trucks and the Hot Wheels and all of that as well, but a little music here and there yeah.
And I also, cello was not my first pick as a youngster. Also, I started playing the cello when I was 8, but before that, my first inclination was toward the drums. But Mom and Dad had different ideas and did not want that in the house.
Yeah,
so they steered me towards the cello, and one of my older sisters was playing violin, and so there was a connection to the string teachers in the local area. There was a great cello teacher, and so my destiny was on a different path.
Well, that is so cool. So you guys have really. So how long have you guys been together making music?
Yeah, about 2.5 years, almost 3.
Coming up on 3. Yeah. So that conference where we met was mid-June of 2018. And then, like with any relationship, there was the kind of circling around and seeing, what is this thing? Is it going to work? Right. Let's try one project, one performance, one piece. And so, yeah, the actual, having a name and starting to develop the whole group, probably about 2.5 years.
Well, and so you guys are now working on an album, right?
We're working on an album with an incredible 7-time Grammy-nominated producer. His name is Joel Hamilton, and he's worked with Norah Jones, with
Paul McCartney,
you name it. He just finished a Danny Elfman album, and so we're super psyched. Just pumped.
Yeah. I mean, congrats on that. That is so cool. So, how many songs will be on the album?
It's actually going to be pretty short. We're riding right on the edge of what an album or an EP. The whole thing will be about 37 minutes or so, which is 6 tracks. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's exciting stuff.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
So how did you guys get hooked up with this producer?
We did our research and we pitched him. And he said
yes, amazingly.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great. So you were able just to call his office and then send in your tapes?
We send an email, with YouTube links and things like that.
And the whole kind of what the vision for the album was. Here are groups that we kind of draw inspiration from, that we think that we're kind of at the crossroads between, and why we think that this is going to be something special. And he really latched onto that, and we're so thankful that he had the vision to really say yes to us and entrust that work and time and creative process. Because he's really like a third member of the artistic team, because we come in and we have these tunes that we've written and that we've performed many times, but then you go into the studio with a great producer and he has another set of artistic ideas and ears, and so he hears the tune, but he has his own lens through which he imagines and can hear new things. And so then he says, let's try adding this or modifying this so that the idea that I hear in your song comes out even more clearly. So it's it was fascinating working with him and seeing our music kind of transformed in a little way, but in a way that still stayed so true to the energy, to the emotion, to the feeling that we wanted each piece to convey.
That's exciting stuff. Because you do see that some of these, who is that, like the big manager, I'm probably gonna butcher his name, Scooter Braun. So he was a manager, pretty young guy, and I think he's the one that discovered Justin Bieber. So he was digging through YouTube, and that's really where people are kind of going. These artists will put stuff on YouTube and then they're discovered, but you guys were like, yeah, we're not waiting around. We're just going to take our stuff and move. So good for you.
Yeah, it was quite strategic in many ways, and a lot of luck too. Just who could just see him saying yes, right? Like that was.
Well, here's a lesson: is you gotta ask. And sometimes, as an artist myself, we get nervous because there's so much rejection within the business, and then you think, well, I don't have this yet, and so I'll wait till I get this level and then reach out. But the truth of the matter is, it's always a no unless you reach out. So the worst that can happen the worst answer has already happened. Because if you don't reach out, it's already a no. So I like that. And hopefully to other people that are listening, you can be an inspiration no matter what they're doing, because we all need help to get to massive levels of success, is to take that chance and reach out, but also be strategic and make sure you're reaching out to somebody that can resonate with it.
Totally. I think people, the question, how much of that was luck or how much of that was your hard work or whatever. And I think a big part of at least our just success has been you put yourself in a position to be lucky. So you open up that door and then you allow things to kind of naturally happen to you. That's just kind of how we live.
Yeah. And that's a great way to live, right? Yeah, luck is that's exactly right. Luck is, preparedness. When preparedness meets opportunity, they say, right?
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah. So
there's a great, there was something a friend of ours said that I really liked, the way that he approaches when he's inviting a collaborator or pitching a brand sponsorship or any sort of thing where he is having to kind of put himself and make that cold invitation. The way that he advised us and the way that he approaches those is he says, when he's approaching the person, here's what I'm doing, here's why I think it's really valuable, I'm going on the journey, would you like to come with me? Would you like to be a part of this as well? And just that idea of an invitation that, like Jonathan was saying, we're going there, we're going to forge our own trail if we need to, but if you like, and if you believe in this too, do you want to help us, pave that path, make it a little easier? And just that idea of invitation into work that is valuable, things that are going to make a positive impact on the world.
And that's so well said, because a lot of people will go into different meetings or pitch meetings, and they pitch it and they talk all about like, what can that person do for me? And that's such a wrong way to approach it in a way, because it's more like you need to come in and you're telling them what you're going to do for them. And that's what gets them excited. Like you're part of but like inviting them on the journey is great, because you have that confidence saying, well, this is going to happen, but I'd like to include you in it. Would you like to come?
Totally.
So,
and we're also busy. People are too busy, so you have to inspire them. You have to say, what can we do together? This is what I can do. This is what you get from this, right? Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, who are your inspirations?
Ooh, in what field? Artistically or as
music?
Music. This question might take a while, Madison.
Like, don't think too hard.
A group that jumps to mind for me. Well, actually, let me think. There's a couple flowing around in my head. Actually, this is a group that just popped back on my radar, but I actually really do love what they're doing. There's this string quartet that operates out of Berlin. I think that's where they're kind of based.
Okay.
And they just came back to mind because they just put out a music video, and all the algorithms fed it to me. They're called the Vision String Quartet. But what they do, because I'm inspired by them because I feel like we're on similar journeys in what we're trying to do artistically and within the kind of classical tangential field. They play the classic repertory, all the kind of great string quartets of years past, all from memory, first of all. So they play like massive 45-minute quartets entirely from memory, which is very unusual and at a very high level. But then they turn around and they're also just as formidable as a jazz string quartet. They're all trained in improvisation, in kind of all the skills needed for that style. And it's not half done, it's not gimmicky, it's really good. And so what they represent to kind of the string quartet classical music field, that one, it is not an either or, it can be a both and. You can have excellence in all these different fields. You don't have to be locked into the one genre or path. I just love that, and they sound awesome.
Oh, well, that's great. And what about you?
So that's the Vision String Quartet. So for me, I think it's thinking in a similar kind of trajectory of what's the path that we're trying to follow. There's a group called Two Cellos, and it's literally two guys.
Guess what they play?
Playing cello.
Definitely the guitar.
But they are huge. They are a global phenomenon. They fill stadiums, and they blew up because Elton John heard them perform and was blown away by them and asked. Essentially, they were opening for Elton John on tour.
Wow.
And these two dudes play. They reimagine popular songs. They write original tunes as well, and they also play both acoustic and electric instruments, which is what we do. And it's a party. It's a party whenever they perform. They fill stadiums and people are dancing, and I think just the relationship between performer and audience is beautiful, and something that we hope to do as well.
Yeah, I got to see them at the Greek Theater in LA a couple summers back, and there are some great concert experiences I've been to, but that was wholly unique when you have an entire audience singing along to classic rock songs, like "Welcome to the Jungle" or "Can't Get No Satisfaction." All these tunes, and they're singing along to two classically trained cellists who have taken their art form and found a way to make it accessible to so many people. They found a way to connect with so many people where they're at, a way to bring them into musical worlds that they might never have stepped into otherwise. And it's just a load of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. So what's the biggest concert you guys have done, or group you've performed in front of so far?
During COVID, we got featured at TED. And it was actually for this massive TED conference in partnership with Project Management Institute, where we debuted a tune of ours for 30,000 people in 182 countries.
And if you look at how many countries are in the world, like registered with, I think, the UN, it's like 186 or something. It's only a couple more. So almost every country in the world, every time zone around the world, we're participating in this conference. It was pretty incredible.
You guys must be so proud of yourselves, and your parents must be so proud too.
Yeah, we have proud parents. That's for sure.
And it's a journey, right? You take one step at a time, and like Jonathan was saying, you work hard and you see things come to you, but can't let that get to your head. You stay true to the purpose
Yes.
the vision and the work, and humility is one of the most important traits to maintain.
Well, and I hope you can maintain that, because you guys are on the verge of something very big. So just remember this conversation.
We'll think back and that podcast with Madison.
Yeah, if I see you and you're a little cocky, I'm gonna be like, "Hello, let me remind you. Remember my face? It might have been younger, but." So it's funny when I think of music, I think of or musicians. I think of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Right? Is there sex, drugs, and classical music, or is that just?
I'm sure. Classical music has been around for centuries. And
so, for sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, right.
Of course of course. It used to be like the music of the aristocracy. So they would, they would hire musicians and they would be in courtrooms and ballrooms and things like that. And who knows what was going down.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Use your imagination.
Right. No, that's very true. So is there a drug problem in your genre of music like there is in rock and roll and other?
I would say it's less so, or at least that's part of with rock and roll, it's kind of like the aura of rock and roll, and it's part of like the story behind that comes with. I think yeah, less so.
Yeah, and definitely like the quote unquote classical world. I think the image that sector tries to uphold and maintain is definitely not in that realm.
Yeah, I can see that.
But of course, right, ultimately, people are people, humans are humans, and whether or not something is kind of associated with or a defining trait of a certain sector of human society, it's like people are people. At our core, we deal with similar fundamental things, and how we attempt to cope with those are probably similar.
That's true. So are there groupies in the classical music field? There's got to be.
Definitely.
I think we've got a couple groupies, which is fantastic.
That's great, right? You like them till they become stalkers.
No, it's wonderful developing relationships with people, right? They come to one concert and you're strangers, and then you speak after the performance, and then they come to the next thing and they bring a friend, and they're sharing something that's brought them joy or fulfillment or value, and then over time, right, what started as just kind of a what would you call kind of a ephemeral or surface level relationship can actually develop into something deeper, and we'll see how those continue to develop as hopefully we keep expanding our audience. But I think it's a beautiful thing.
I mean, we perform for other people. We perform for our audiences. That's why we do what we do. And so to have people that love what we do and that are just psyched to come to our performances and come performance after performance and are super dependable, like, that's awesome. Yeah. So long as it doesn't, start infringing on your personal life and get creepy, of course.
So
that hasn't happened to us.
So was your question one based out of personal experience, Madison? Because you, as a performer yourself, are there any stories around that or advice you have for us?
Not really. I mean, I really haven't had any stalkers or groupies. I don't know. I kind of have a, even though I'm jokey and kind of a dirty comic, so to say, I still have a face that kind of says, pardon my language, don't fuck with me. So it's kind of protected me. So I don't really get, some of my comic girlfriends will be like, yeah, I get people just sliding into my DMs with a picture of their big Johnson. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't happen to me. Like, I don't know what I'm doing differently, but like, yeah, I don't get dick. I feel a little left out, but that just doesn't happen. So I don't know. I think it's maybe how you kind of just, I don't know, maybe how you present yourself. If maybe you're inviting that or you're not I don't know. It's just luck of the draw. Maybe I'll get a couple dick pics. I don't know. I don't want them, but I just want to at least know that I'm good enough to receive them.
Well, kudos to you. I think it's probably better off that way, but yeah.
No, it totally is. I've received one in my life, which was like the grossest thing I've ever seen. Like, no offense, but penises are gross unless you're using them. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those body parts you don't want to see. You're like, yeah, no, this is gross. Like,
not the way you want to start your morning.
No, definitely not. I mean, I had one morning where I woke up to an inappropriate photo, and it ended up being a joke, but it was sent to me on accident. And thank God it wasn't my boss, because that would have been weird. But it was weird because it was my aunt. It was a topless photo of my aunt. So I was like, so I just wrote back, and I was like, I didn't know what to say, but I didn't want her to feel bad. So I just wrote, nice tits. And she responded with, thank you. I was like, I still don't know if she meant to send it to me. Like, there was
So the next family gathering, I bet there was just an interesting aura around that.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a very sexually open family, extended family, not my parents, thank goodness. So it's a lot of funny dinner conversations. In fact, I was with family last night, and it somehow turned to sex toys, and I was like, yeah, my dad's sitting right here. Like, this is not. But I love my family. It's great. And maybe one day it'll make a sitcom. It'll make some great stories. But I'm like, is this really happening? But anyways, enough of the cock photos. Let's talk about how you guys how did you go and deal with COVID, being performers and now not being able to do that? Was that kind of a good time for you to create though and work on your skills?
Yeah, so like the rest of the performing world, all our concerts got canceled, right? And it was devastating in the beginning. But Philip and I are pretty active doers. So we sat around moping for a couple of days, but then we started thinking about, okay, like, what do we have control over, and how can we give back during this time when so many people are just struggling? And so what we ended up doing is we created a initiative called Support NYC, where we decided to provide all these fundraising concerts for small businesses and nonprofits. And it started out just in New York City.
Hence the name.
But it quickly expanded, nationwide. So we were doing fundraisers for places like Shakespeare Dallas, or like organizations in California, by nature of just the enormous capabilities that come with virtual concerts now. So it's awesome. So we've been more active than ever, and yes, at the same time we've had opportunity to explore creatively, and explore electronic instruments and all these different things that were kind of on our bucket list for a while. So
we were talking before about how, what was it? Preparedness meets opportunity. That's how you making your own luck. Really, what we found, or one of the things that we found, is that we were in the right place at the right time with the right skills and the right mindsets. So all the things that we had been cultivating, consciously or not, for years prior to that, Jonathan with his incredible networking and outreach skills, his kind of strategic mind for development of ideas and us as a business, my skills with technology and recording and audio engineering. What that meant was that we were able to pivot extremely quickly into the new normal, which for many, many, many months meant that the only performances we could do were online performances, live streaming through YouTube Live, through Facebook Live, direct through Zoom sometimes. But finding how do you make that meaningful? How do you make an experience artistically where an audience member can still feel some semblance of connection to the artist, to the music, right? It's not the same as in-person performance, but what can you do in a virtual setting that you couldn't do in a in-person performance? That was the question that we were kind of playing with and asking. How do we leverage this time actually to our advantage? And so we had all these puzzle pieces. And so while our one puzzle that we had been building fell apart, we were able to take those same pieces and reassemble them into something new that now we've been sowing those seeds for over a year, and many of those are sprouting into new things that are actually probably career-defining moves that we would never have been able to initiate otherwise.
That's awesome. So you guys, you made lemonade out of the lemon.
Made some lemonade out of lemons. Absolutely.
Madison, what did you do during COVID?
I kind of got really busy in writing and researching. So the first 2 weeks it was kind of, watching Tiger King came out. Everyone
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone was watching Tiger. Oh,
that was the best, right? So, because everyone thought it would only last a couple of weeks, so people thought like, oh my gosh, this would be great. Like I finally just get to sit on the couch and have an excuse and just watch TV. And then when you realized it really wasn't, I'm like, okay, enough of this Netflix stuff. They have enough viewers. I'm good. So yeah, I really was creating a lot of television shows that we're now trying to that are in development in different companies. So hopefully we'll be seeing some of those very soon. And then also I always, had a passion for different things like cryptocurrency and that kind of decentralization of taking things away from the government kind of and bringing it to the people. That's why I really kind of like crypto. And so I just kind of went down a rabbit hole of, watching these different YouTube videos and educating myself. And it's been financially great. I was very blessed to go kind of from a struggling artist a little bit with some opportunities on the horizon to finally be able to free myself kind of financially and put myself in a better position. So I was very, very lucky. And I thank God every day that I ended up, better off after than before. And then I would go to Florida and I would try to do some shows because it was open, which was awesome. But I'm kind of more focusing on the kind of creation and production side of it. I still like comedy, but I just I feel like more doors and opportunities were opening for me on that side. So I'm kind of trying to put more of my focus there. I still love the comedy, but I'm just kind of learning to flow with life versus trying to force things to happen or trying to put myself in a hole saying, well, I have to do this and I can't do this until that. So it was a blessing in disguise for me to kind of see. And I got out of New York. I never thought I would get out of New York to realize that life's pretty damn cool in the suburbs. And I never thought I would say that, being somebody in Manhattan. I was like, suburbs, ugh, unless it was, of course, Greenwich, Connecticut. But now I'm like, gosh, the suburbs are so cool.
Especially in Colorado where you are, right? I mean, that's a pretty fantastic suburb. Those skies are just incredible.
I gotta tell you the worst thing though. The one thing I am looking forward to leaving when I leave here, the sun is so strong. I'm putting on sunscreen like 7 times a day. I'm driving in a car like this because you're so close. Like the sun in New York is not strong, but here it's just like you're 5,280 feet closer to the sun than you are at sea level. So it's been brutal. And then the dry air. So somehow I've been able to keep myself relatively young looking out here. So I'm like, oh, when I get back to New York, I'm going to be like 25. It's going to be great. Those are the two downfalls about it. But you've learned to be more like sun conscious and things like that. But anyways, I want to talk about this because our producer of the show, Lynette Dallas, got nominated for this as well, along with you guys, which is how you guys met, which is this I Love New York small business group. And I think it was 100 people were nominated, and they are getting, kind of hands-on experiences and education through these bigger businesses that are kind of helping grow small businesses in New York. So I'm super excited that you guys are on, because you guys were nominated for this.
Yeah, so actually through our work with Support NYC, we were performing fundraisers for all these different small businesses in New York. Yeah. And we got connected to this incredible woman, Carissa Reiniger, who through her company Silver Lining supports many thousands of small businesses globally. And she had this idea to come to New York and to uplift New York by
help it through its recovery.
And to celebrate small businesses. So she nominated 100 small businesses. We were one of the businesses that got nominated. Lynette Dallas was also one of those people. And through that, it's a beautiful network. We're getting a lot of support, through various corporate partners like Broadway World, GoDaddy, and all these things, who have each chipped in their side of this enormous prize. And through this entire initiative, Philip and I are curating a 10-part concert series here in New York, where in all 5 boroughs, where we're bringing on award-winning artists to perform in small business spaces, kind of like we've been doing. And then the ticket proceeds and donations raised to these events will go back to all of these small businesses.
So, oh, that's so cool. So, and you guys wrote a song that was actually inspired by this I Love New York Small Business Initiative. And you're gonna play it for us.
That's right. So we wrote a song that was inspired by the I Love New York City's Small Business Initiative, but also the larger kind of movement that Silver Lining has been putting on called Impact 5X.
Okay.
Yeah, and so this song was commissioned actually by Carissa for this Impact 5X initiative, which is helping businesses globally.
Mm-hmm. So kind of like the I Love New York City Small Business, but just bigger and larger in scope and scale. And the, as Carissa would say, the X stands for not knowing how many zeros are at the end, right? And I think, as the story goes, the initial idea was 50, but then it's like, why do we stop there? Why don't we say Impact 500? Why not 5,000? And so Carissa, as anyone who meets her will quickly learn, is a big picture thinker, and she's an incredible visionary. And so we were so honored and excited to be able to try to write music that reflected that hope, that inspiration, that rejuvenation, the support and the community that these initiatives represent.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Okay, so do you guys want to play this? Because I'm dying to hear it. That was amazing. Oh my gosh, you guys, you gave me chills. I kept wanting to clap, and then I'm like, don't do it. Are they done? Don't do it.
Is the mic still on, or are we muted?
Yeah, no, you guys are awesome. Oh my gosh.
Were you dancing?
It's honestly, it's unbelievable. It's just the talent and and then you had stopped to grab the other one. I was like, oh, is he done? And then you, with like a rock violin, who knew that existed? I mean,
it's pretty awesome, right?
So how do you guys write this music? Because it has no words. So how does that kind of composure work?
You know, a big part of our compositional process is actually improvisation, making stuff up on the spot.
Like at the beginning,
you know,
like how we met.
So what that really looks like is we will literally take our iPhones, put it on a voice memo, set it down, and be like, okay, what are we feeling? We'll put together a theme or something, and we'll just go off, you know, and we'll just start making stuff up. We'll record everything. We'll listen back, and we'll be like, oh,
that was good.
That was good.
That was less
like,
good.
Some nuggets in there. And then we'll use that as like a kind of basis. And for this song, we really used a typical, you know, pop song format, kind of
verse, chorus, bridge.
Because we wanted it to feel like someone was singing, you know, actually.
Yeah, because that just seems like a whole nother talent level, right? Because usually you've got the words of the songs, and then they'll just underlay the beats in them. But this is like you're creating the words out of music because they don't exist. So it's the music that's providing the message, which is just it's just unbelievable. Like, I've never played a musical instrument, so just watching you, just how you hit the strings, and it's just such a, like, I'm so impressed. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's just unbelievable. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
I can't wait for your first album.
We'll let you know when it drops.
We'll let you know when it drops.
Yes, please do. And then we can kind of re-promote the episode and stuff, because it really is just beautiful, beautiful music. So where can people kind of find you guys now? Because I know you guys have a website, you know, arkaimusic.com, which will obviously be on our website, but where else can they kind of go and listen to more of your work?
Big chunk of it is on YouTube at the moment. Like we have a few,
about 10 videos or so on YouTube.
Okay.
And we're also on all the platforms, but it's kind of limited what's on Spotify, on Apple Music, all the platforms right now. But we do have some stuff. But we're going to be releasing more soon.
And really building up towards that album release, right? That's kind of going to be the first big nugget that we drop on the streaming platforms. They're all, right, each platform is kind of unique. So YouTube is a kind of great place to have stuff that's out there right now before all of the fully produced album tracks come out. So YouTube's a great place. We're also pretty active on Instagram, so you can follow us there at Arkai Music. We're playing around with it. We aren't quite hip enough yet for TikTok. We're still venturing into those waters.
Neither are half the moms that are doing funny videos. There's no rhyme or reason if you got to be hip or whatever. You guys just be out there. But listen, I know about TikTok because I thought like, oh, I'm going to do like talk about my skincare, you know? And then I'm like, that's boring. But yeah, don't hold yourselves back. You guys will blow TikTok away.
Well, take it from you, Madison.
Yeah. So for now,
I have an idea for a viral video for you, because like you do you should have like your music playing and then like have a funny cat doing stuff to your music. I don't know why cat videos go viral, but it would be really funny to kind of have the music with like animals and stuff. Just an idea.
So we need the cats.
The Arkai Zoo.
That would be by your recorded music. But yeah, you guys definitely, you know, should have that as well. But when do you think the album will come out?
Most likely early 2022.
Okay, so like 6 months.
A couple months, yeah. It's a whole process and strategy around all of that. But yeah, that's kind of the target we're looking at right now.
Well, that is so exciting. So, okay, so you've got the Instagram, Arkai Music, the YouTube is also Arkai Music.
Correct.
The website is Arkai
Facebook
Music.
is guess it, Arkai Music. We try to be pretty consistent.
is good, which is very, very good. So yeah, anything else you want to leave us with? This was amazing. And I'm so honored that you guys took the time to sit down with me today. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having us. We had a blast.
Yeah, so fun. And yeah, and hopefully, people found something inspiring, can take something away. And, as we were just sharing all of those ways to get in touch, we are very happy and very social. And so if anyone, we talked about kind of the social media platforms, but there's also like the newsletter that we try to send, every month or so. And then there's also just direct, email if people want to reach out and have questions or learn more. We're more than happy to talk about our music or about the arts in general, or
we respond.
Maybe cats and music too. Maybe we'll talk about.
Yeah. If it did, I'm telling you, I feel like it could, because your music is so amazing. But then if you put that funny element for TikTok in it, I think it's just, but anything goes on TikTok. I've seen the dumbest shit with millions of views, and I'm like, what? Yeah. So never hold yourself back, because you just never know. But I think you guys are on a good path. You're surrounded by good people. You've got a good network, so you might not even need TikTok.
We'll see. We'll see how things play out. We're going to keep our nose to the grindstone, like we were talking about earlier, and keep preparing for the opportunities, but doing our work. So.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And everybody listening, wherever you're listening, I appreciate you very much. Please don't forget to rate and review and subscribe if you haven't. That would be greatly appreciated. And we'll see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.